the player joins the ranks and becomes a ghost hunter. Gabe gives them the base tutorial on how to vacuum ghosts, although being rather stingy around the amount he gives out. Then, they achieve the hoverboard technology from Adam, who is a rather stubborn and tough businessman in Block City. They are able to befriend him, earning his respect by running around in the sewers to find dirty socks. The player goes to the Wild West, achieving Jesse's magnetism power-up after he reveals the remains of the Area 51 laboratory to the ghost hunters. He also talks about pyramids appearing overnight. Then, the player goes to the beach to achieve Finsley's multiple stream technology, becoming his first mate and an honorary pirate. All of these characters mention a ghost hunter Ace, wondering where he is. In the volcano, the player finds Blaze by an unlit portal, which is connected to Sparks as a battery source. Blaze has nearly got the rift working again, but it is unstable and spewing ghosts and mayhem out of it. Blaze uses the player to collect items and ectoplasm for the rift to stabilize, and a godly pet in order to power it in exchange for Sparks. While Blaze does not entirely trust the player, and is extremely anxious they will be caught by the developers, they prevail in their efforts to stabilize the rift, which opens in a couple weeks from then. However, the damage had been done. Magmarorg and Sludge had escaped from the Ghost World into the main hub as bosses. In addition, Ghost Hunter Luna is able to escape from the Ghost World. We only know that she's been trying to escape ever since she became isolated there. She has become racked with betrayal, writing off Blaze as a traitor, as he must have been to blame for everything that happened. No wonder the developers made her. He was a monster and he needed to be stopped once and for all. She had barely got herself together when the player found her in the forest. I mentioned earlier that Blaze put his notes about the developers on the Obby notes. The developers had left instructions on how to dispose of him for Luna to carry out on some of them, so when she has the player collect them, she finds Blaze's notes about the developers and what they have truly done. While it isn't explicitly said or acted out in-game, Luna had likely made up with Blaze after finding out the true culprit of the accident. Then, she tries to contact her agents who are still trapped in the Ghost World. After a couple weeks of anticipation, the Ghost World portal opens, leading to the ghostly islands by the marketplace, and Ghost Hunter Shelly. Shelly, brainwashed, has become similar to what the developers planned her original character, Alice, to be like, quite childish and playful in how she very swiftly starts a game with the player. Showing a level of memory, she begins to change back to who she wanted to be, while the player continues doing the quests with her, catching the attention of Makimon. Maki actively starts rewriting the dialogue and questline itself, while Shelly struggles to keep her freedom, eventually overcoming the developers by looking at an old, ripped photo of herself, Luna, and Blaze. She explains a dilemma her brother had faced, hinting at the lore logs posted on Makimon's YouTube channel, and leaves the player with a warning. There will be people you can and cannot trust, and they'll have to be careful with who they interact with. So after Shelly's debut, the first NPC the player meets is Ghost Hunter Leo, alongside Ghost Hunter Ace. The latter is just bumbling around the ghostly island with nothing happening whatsoever. He's in a really suspicious tone, hinting at how there are people high above, the developers, who didn't really supply any exposition for me to talk about. Leo, on the other hand, does. Just before a not very lore-heavy space event, the Bloxburg Games Twitter account posted the following: Luna, did you get out? I don't have much time. I recently gained access to the admin panel. I can't hold it for long. We were wrong about them. You need to help the new recruits. Prepare them for... We are experiencing technical difficulties. 2 weeks later, we got... Do not trust Ace. He's working for them. He's not alone. I've been captured, but I implanted a remote trigger in their system. To all the ghost hunters that are left untouched, be careful. Regroup. We're experiencing technical difficulties. This is Ghost Hunter Leo. I mentioned he was the nerdy computer type who wasn't interested in coding. Being in the ghost world sort of enhanced his ability to do so, since he wasn't restricted to what the developers wanted him to be. He thought that there must be a way that the developers are controlling the NPCs. After all, why would Ace have misfired the portal? If he could only hack this, maybe he could try to mess with the developers as they had done with his friends. And so Leo hacks the admin panel and makes extremely frantic tweets trying to find help and to reach out to Luna, who had very recently escaped the ghost world. Ace and the ghosts of the castle courtyard, however, trap Leo in a cage on the lower deck to prevent him from making more of a ruckus. His stuff was pickpocketed and he had nowhere to go. So when he sees the players strolling into the haunted castle, he desperately catches their attention. He explains to the player about the investigations at Area 51 and actually tells them what the rift accident was, opposed to Shelley's extremely cryptic and sorrowful lines of dialogue. His main objective, other than getting out of the cage, is to find Luna, since she's the leader. He is aware that she's been trying to send messages to the agents, and he needs to translate them in order to receive these orders. With the help of the player, 2 messages are translated. One is Leo's mission, where he has to stay in the cage to continue training passing players so they are ready to take on the developers when the time comes. The second is a message for all agents to gather at the developers' secret hideout, but that will become more important later. For now, Leo stays in the cage, unfortunately for him, while the player moves on, except not really. Leo does not stay in the cage. He sets up a hologram to test players and give them the same awareness that the first did. Meanwhile, the real Leo can help Luna in the main hub, who very desperately needs his computer skills alongside Blaze's science skills in order to construct a new portal, a portal to the backdoor, which is a testing world for the developers, a sort of beta main hub, if you will. Moving on, the player then meets Ghost Hunter Yoko on the upper deck of the castle courtyard, who has been able to contact the agents. His experience in the ghost world was never really expanded upon. He has a typical ninja persona, tough, reliable, wearing an orange Hayori, having several similarities with Honghui, the love interest of Disney's Mulan. He literally starts singing his theme song mid-quest line. While he continues to train you, he also tries to reveal who the antagonist is, as nobody else had directly mentioned the developers so far. His mission is to recruit the players to the agents of Luna by putting them through several trials and tribulations, including 5 riddles. Yoko awards the player with a hoverboard turbocharger, which greatly speeds up the player's movement when riding a hoverboard, as well as a key to Luna's secret room in the laboratory. This room contains information she's drawn up about which side each of the NPCs are on, which became outdated quite quickly, but moving on. So the player now meets Jax after becoming recruited to the agents of Luna and learning that the developers are the reason several NPCs have been suffering for so long. I mentioned earlier that Jax had changed from this shy character to a really expressive and upbeat DJ who has built herself a home in the music meadows. Jax at first only wants to work toward creating a band, until about 5 quests in, her trust for the player has grown enough for her to talk about her perspective in the rift accident. She's not just an upbeat DJ, but an isolated victim of other people's issues and anxiety, now having to choose a side in a war she never wanted to fight, agents or dev side. While she remains neutral during her time in Music Meadows, the developers reach out to Jax to try to finally talk to one of their creations. She wants to understand, like everyone else, why the developers are erasing, deleting, and messing with the codes of their creations. Most of them at this point believe that the developers caused the rift accident itself, which is not true, but it is a motivating factor. What got her to join the dev side in the end, however, was her interest in Ace, who was suffering behind a wall of corrupted code, and was someone who needed the help of a friend. She may be naive for becoming evil for love, but she did truly just want to help, and maybe put an end to the conflict by getting both sides of the story, something the agents hadn't tried. Speaking of the agents, how are they going to take down the developers? Leo and Luna have been trying to get to the developer's testing world called the Back Door. There are some requirements for making portals, such as a power source, an antenna that lets you interact with the new environment, as well as a link between the two worlds, whether that be data from the other side or some sort of connection. The power source, solved by Blaze, was Godly Pets, or boss ghosts which the agents have covered. The antenna required an item called the Data Link to work. The Gatekeeper, a mysterious but slightly goofy NPC located at the back of the haunted castle, has this item, and oddly is aware that it would advance the plot forward, and will only grant the player with it if they defeat the Great Guardian, a megaboss who we can suppose is guarding the back door. The Great Guardian and Gatekeeper were probably put in place by the developers to stop us from going forward. This is what the agents have been training the players for in Leo and Yoko's questlines, a megaboss. The agents are going to defeat the developers by weaponizing the players against them. After all, they don't have code. They can't die, right? After meeting Jax in the Music Meadows, the player meets Fern in the haunted castle. Don't forget, Fern is Jax's younger sister, but also one of the agents of Luna still. They are on opposite sides. Fern's mission as an agent is to train the player for fighting the Great Guardian, in order to obtain this data link item from the Gatekeeper. The Gatekeeper very silently doesn't communicate with the player in any fashion, besides staring contests initiated by the player themselves. Frustrated with the lack of questline, the player gives the Gatekeeper a chocolate bar from a vending machine in the haunted castle. This item used to be given by Fern in order to do the Gatekeeper's questline, but it was changed to make things a bit easier. It did make more sense for a lore perspective, but after giving the Gatekeeper the chocolate bar, they give the player the Photon Blaster ability and access to the Great Guardian. Upon defeation of the Great Guardian, who really sucks at their job, the Gatekeeper gives the player the Data Link, which is a plot point that will probably be explored in the future. So, we have a power source, the Data Link. Now the agents just needed a connection in order to get to the back door. Do you remember Rowan, Yoko's brother, who glitched in a rift accident rather than fell into the ghost world? So yeah, Rowan glitched to the Reverse City, which is the biome equivalent of Block City in the back door itself. With Leo and Rowan's joint efforts of hacking, they were able to breach the testing site, causing the back door to glitch out, and several models, ghosts, and messages to phase between a glitchy and normal state. The Reverse City, for example, becomes destroyed due to the glitches. Thanks for watching.